to make sure that it's recorded. And you can come back and review it, and people that are watching can come back and learn. I mean, it's going to be it's live on Facebook, as you see, I was saying. And because the main purpose of our sessions is really to empower one another. There's so much information that's lying in people's minds, and people are doing so many things. We just need a platform, many platforms, to really share what people need, especially the one topic we're going to be talking about today, which is financial wellness and wealth creation. Let me welcome you again, colleagues. Let me welcome those of us who are watching on Facebook. And thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take your comments as we go along. We invite those that are on Zoom at some point. If you feel like you have a question to ask, you can write it on the chat portal here. And maybe there will be time for you to actually say your question, speak in your own voice. I will try and catch up as well as on what people are saying on Facebook. I'm terrible when it comes to multitasking. So if it so happens that I forget to read or keep track of what is happening because I get engrossed in the conversations, bear with me. But we'll come back to that.
Kajeni, maybe my request would be, you know, as you rightly said, this topic really is of interest to people.
Yes.
If we can give them time as well to engage.
Yes.
It's always best. You tend to unearth so many things when we have the audience participating, as opposed to us occupying the podium all the time.
Yes. Okay, now we'll create that opportunity for people to ask their questions. And so if you have any question, please start writing it now. And I can see Nangu Ulundi, Kama, Umqina, Nangu, Noleta Ulizo Mgongo is on. Nangu Notato Judicious Mukocho. She's our greatest viewer. She doesn't miss anyone. I can see Nangu Bulela, Salman. We thank you for this initiative. Molwenia Bulisa, Nangu Miss K, Sandisiwe Mamia. Welcome, Mamia. Thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, let's get on with it. Let's start because time flies. Let me start off by thanking you for taking a portion of your Sunday. And Sia, I heard from my daughter that tomorrow is Sesona, your daughter's birthday, or is it today? And today is your wedding anniversary. Am I right? I heard in the grapevine that one. Did we just lose Sia there?
Okay. Sorry, I'm back.
Okay. Yes. Is it your anniversary today?
Oh yes, yeah. Oh. But I didn't want to be a bad guy, Pat, when you asked me to be part of this panel, and I thought, hey, on my anniversary. Okay, no, that's fine. Yes.
Straight after this, you must make up, man. You must make up after this. And yes, am I right?
That's correct. Yes, my daughter. It's her birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, happy birthday to her in advance. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome. Okay. The COVID-19 and the lockdown that have happened to people have really exposed and revealed our lack of financial resilience. I think we can all agree on that one. Many people lost incomes and some lost employment. And those who still have jobs and some sort of semblance of income have had to deal with lower incomes or suffered from stress of fear of losing that income. And as the world begins to, get out of the economic downturn, and the world economy is slowly recovering, it is crucial that we reflect and talk about some of the important discussions around finances and how do we create wealth, and what lessons have we learned, frankly, from this whole experience that we never thought, and how do we achieve under this new normal financial wellness and wealth creation in a sustainable, and this is particularly for us, not for rich people, for us who are just normal human beings. Recently, prices have gone up, petrol, electricity, school, you just name it. Everything has just gone up. And so we have a great panel today to talk about that. Let me start off by introducing, firstly, Siyabulela Jodwana. He's the managing director of Humana Investments, a wealth planning company. He has spent most of his working life in the banking industry, and the last job that he occupied before starting his wealth planning business, he was a provincial head of the commercial asset finance of one of the major banks in the Eastern Cape. And he is also a founder of a very popular and My Inner Circle Conversations, which is a financial awareness platform where he brings in people to empower, particularly Black professionals, to make sound financial decisions and really expose them to tools and channels of wealth creation for generational wealth. And he's also involved in cricket. He has established a cricket team to keep the children busy and out of mischief. And Sia is qualified with a bachelor degree of commerce, a post-graduation diploma in financial planning, and a post-grad diploma in estate planning and investments. We also have in our midst Zanele Mehlomakhulu Kenke. Zanele is the founder, along with her son, of Akeke Wealth Creation, a company that empowers ordinary South Africans with personal financial management by imparting sound financial management information and wealth creation skills. This is now for all of us who are ordinary people. They work with individuals, homes, groups to conduct financial education and coaching workshops so that these matters can be discussed. We're going to get a bit more about what else they do. The third, but not the least guest is Zukisani Zamela. He is originally from Eastern Cape, Butterworth, where he studied, but he moved over to Cape Town to do his electrical and computer engineering degree at UCT. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, how does that link with the financial information? He is a passionate, sort of financial planning and financial information promoter. And now, as he is here now, he's working as a software development manager and has been at this work for some time. He's passionate about the topic that we're going to be talking about today. So without wasting any time, let me just tell you about the purpose of the Kulati Coaching and Consulting and this Zoom session in particular. It is to inspire, to inform, and to transform people with the idea that with God on your side, effort, information, hard work, there's nothing that's impossible for you. So no matter what happened into your business during this period of time, whether you had to start from scratch, there is always a way forward as long as you are breathing and there's blood coursing through your veins. Now let's get to know the colleagues here a bit better. Zanele, can you please take us through your background, what made you got interested in this kind of thing? Is there something within your background? And after that, we're gonna go to Sia and then we go to Zooks in that way. Just make it brief so that we can move forward.
Thank you, Prophet. Indeed, I'll make it very brief because it can be quite detailed to talk about a background for the purpose of this session. Yes. I'm from Stakespruit, which was the former Transkei then. Some people call it Herschel. Yeah, so that's where I grew up, and both my parents were, they were not formally employed. My dad was a pensioner at Transnet when I was 2 years because he had an injury at work, and therefore.
Sorry, Zanele, can you lift up the computer so that we can see at least your mouth? We can't see your mouth.
Oh, is it? Yes, yes. So I was saying that, yes, I was raised by these two parents.
Yes.
Yes, they were at home. My mom was a home executive. So obviously my dad was a pensioner at that time, very early in his life. And so they were quite industrious. The people who were very active in subsistence farming, if you call it, today, because my dad used to say to us, and we could see him, and it was the 5 of us. So yeah, no bokusetyenzwa kulamzi, and some people used to say sisipoko sasevanesi into ezinjalo. Yeah, so so we were quite active in agriculture, besilima, so ifocholo nepeki izinto zam. Yeah, so and we had a lot of farming as well, chicken, poultry, where it was we had big chicken coop where we, chickens were laying eggs. And although the market for broilers, like, selling chickens that were, those ones that, you sell for meat, it was not clearly defined. But my recollection is that we used to take these eggs and we would send them to those cafe or general dealers so that they can be sold. I used to dread our Saturdays because, we had to make that chicken coop clean, as if so nests, and beside that turkeys, like turkey karkunke. So nje kwakushisha nje wethu, so but it was a lot of hard work. Ekhaya ke utata wam emzondo umuntu otyayo, xa uqala usitya funeka ube newari, usebenzile nje usitya nje. So kwafuneka uba uhlale uqonda uba before usitya funeka uba you end that plate, yeah. So ke as a result akho vila, so sonke singabantu aba very active, abakwazi ukusebenza ngezandla, like yeah. So generally ke primary school yam, it was there at our hometown, Esakakude JSS, which is a primary and a junior secondary school. The reason why I would have to mention this, so these schools that I would mention, they are named after my grandfathers. Wow. So Esakakude was my grandfather, and Umdana Simreneni, that means Ebkusini. So my father inherited the plot. Okay. Yeah, chief. So then I moved to Mehlomakhulu High, which was a boarding school there, Estate. So most of us, I guess, was a boarding schools. My elder sister, then she went to Zanele. Yeah. So, yeah, and then again, yeah, and then I had to leave before the metric. Okay. It was just in October when I was writing my metric, and principal what no and that was the issue. So okay, it's fine. The following year, I had to look for other schools where I completed. Now you complete in metric the other year, scholars of St. Paul's at that time. Sister Waman Funela Pa, today it's called Blue Hills College. Oh, okay. So yes, St. Paul's then. Yeah, it was easy because as I say Sabata then Sabazi. So your computer metric up. It was in Bramfontein then. And then from there again Pumana East School Erau. It was just after Irao became a bilingual, because it was dominantly Afrikaans, then it became bilingual. Irao is what we call UJ today. UJ today, yes. Yes. So African Denzi Bachelor. That's Bachelor of Arts because subject exams as maths and physics. Yeah. Although ndandingazanga kakuhle kakhulu apha kwi-maths, so nda defaulta because idea yami yayikuba ndiyakwenza industrial. psychology. So that default and I we BA and a major again psychology and sociology.
Okay.
So yes, so that was my bachelor's degree that I passed. But in the process, while I was there at varsity, there was my brother Omnye, a relative owayefunda evets, but he was doing his PhD there. So wayethanda ukusempowerisha nje singabantwana, you know, so I would always go there. So wayethanda ukufika sifike pha efunda incwadi zika Robert Kiyosaki. I think that was the year 1990. Yes.
Okay.
So I was introduced there. So why is out ifunda le ncwadi? So then he introduced me there and I was like, yo, hi, because you know I really want to understand this because a business in the and I understand by seven you know, but really how does one become rich? Because you can be wealthy, you don't need the education. Contrary to us, especially former Transkei people, it was the thing, you know. So university was the thing. So Ngoku, how do you explain this?
Okay.
So I became very interested then. So I started Robert Kiyosaki and then I remember I enrolled in economics. There was my third year I fundamentals of economics, and I enrolled as one of my subjects. Ndahlala phansi ndiqonda uba hey kaloku andiyenzanga i-BCom ngoku funeke i-language, because one of the things that Kiyosaki, your language must change, so you must know the financial language. Yes. So ndaqonda uba hey hayi yabona le i-art ayizundisa ndawo ndifuna imali, ndingakhambe ndifunde i-economics.
Okay.
I enrolled in one of the courses there. Hey, ndahlula man, ndafunda xa zange ndohlula ezi graphs supply net demand. Hey, ndaqonda uba you know what, andizelanga zofeyilya apha, ndizawuqhubeka ngale bachelors yam and ndizawudibana nale economics. Anyway, ndizawusifundisa ku-rich dad no-poor dad, and Kiyosaki is going to teach me. So well, ndaphuma ke apho, immediately xa ndiphuma ke apho, I graduated and then ndahamba. There was a program ndayosebenza in a telecommunications company, but there was a program that was offered by another institution for graduate, for financial planners. That was just after IFA's Act was just being implemented. So
Zanele, we're gonna pick it up in the next question, né? Because I think as you tell us about your company, you're just gonna start from there and then we move. I just want to make sure that everybody is at the same level, okay? We're gonna come, sorry to cut you short there, but we're gonna come back now. I just want to get the others to tell us about their background and then we can move.
Yes.
Is that fine?
Yes. No, that's fine.
Thank you, Sisi. Sia, let's come to you.
Yes, thanks, Kakin. I'm going to be very brief. I was born in Port Elizabeth. My parents were both working as just ordinary workers. Unfortunately, I did not spend much time.
Sia, I think
died in. Can you hear me?
There's a bit of a delay.
Can you hear me now, Pat?
I can hear you now. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure now where you lost me.
I lost you where you were saying, unfortunately, your father died when you were still young.
Oh, yes. So my father died. I didn't spend much time with him. He died in 1978. So I was raised by my mother, uncles, no magas. You know, my mother worked for medical research. I think now it's called National Health something. I can't keep up with these new names now. So we stayed as Zwide for some time. Then we moved to Kwatwisi. I'm happy to say I'm the product of the Seventh-day Adventist school. Back home, we were not Adventists then. we were Presbyterian. So if you trace Imvelaphi Jodwana, Mgijima, and Jona, all those families, they take you to Alice, to a lower Sheshek and the surrounding areas. So basically, Digin, Ogaga, Nizinyan. So my parents were from then. So there were only 2 churches then.
Okay.
So I joined SDA school because my mother knew Mama Kaluvuyo Ngola then. In fact, she knew the entire family from Alice. So that's when she approached her. So I started to sub A1 New Brighton SDA school. So I was there until standard 2. Can remember there was no standard 3 and 4 then. Standard 3 and 4 were at Daku Church, and then standard 5 back again a New Brighton Church. As a fundisele enkonzweni, the classroom enkonzweni. The movies to Lobaz and Gonzo. So from then, I think most of us left to do standard 3 outside of PE, because in the 80s it was rough in PE. Some guys went to Engushwa, others went to Transkei, and I was one of the guys that went to Transkei. So I had a passport at an early age, Pet. So I went to Elali Toleni. So there were relatives there at Toleni, Kwandabagaz. So I went to a school there, Luzipo.
Yeah.
So there's Luzipo, just below Luzipo, there's Cunningham. So I was there, I did, I think, standard 3 to standard 5, then came back to PE. I did my standard 6 at Tembelihle Comprehensive School in New Brighton. Then from then, I moved to a Trinity High School. That's when I completed my matric. So interestingly, I'm in the financial space, but my passion is advertising.
Okay.
Well, 2 separate worlds. My passion is advertising and marketing. That's my passionate. So then my mother engaged me and said, okay, what are you going to be studying? I said, I want to go into advertising and marketing. Then I applied to 2 schools. One was the School of Advertising, AAA in Cape Town. And then the second one was the Dublin College School of Marketing. Then I got accepted on both. Then I had to decide now, and get back this, you're the only child, and your parents is thinking, yo, you're gonna be far away, you're gonna be in Cape Town. Yo, I'm the name, and he born in
Study here.
So, Then I went to Dublin College to do marketing. I enjoy marketing, I must say, to be honest. As much as at high school I did business studies, I was good in accounting, I was good in business management, but I just love advertising, and marketing. So I went to do a 3-year degree. Luckily, they had the links with Oxford Brookes University, so I did that degree then, and I completed it. And my first job was at MTN, actually. I think I spent about 2 years with MTN. I've never worked in one industry. I've worked in different industries. I think this is the last industry where I've actually now found
some sort of a niche
passion.
Yeah.
A sort of a niche, and also my exposure, Pat, because working in a bank, that's when I realized that, hey, if we are not going to stand up as Black people and try to educate other Black people who are making wrong decisions, I mean, we're really going to suffer. This is going to be a vicious cycle. So that's when I decided I am not moving from this space. That's when I did my postgrad in financial planning at UPE, and then I did my estate planning University of Free State. Yes. I'm not sure if there's more. So that's me, Pat. So so the banking side, I've been in a banking for more than 10 years.
Okay. All right. I think that's enough for now. We're gonna go to Zooks. Zooks, tell us a bit about you.
Yes. Hi. Let me see if I can do put Sia on in being brief. Yes. And I mean, it makes sense because maybe I'll start off by saying, as you had said, Dala, the main reason why I'm here, I come primarily because as far as Zanele and Sia is concerned, they are in the financial sector. Mine is kind of like, I'm coming in from a perspective of, I'd say, a testimonial and maybe just to say that issues of finances are not just limited to people who are in finances. All of us are supposed to be, we all supposed to be aware in terms of like personal finances and wealth creation, getting out of debt and all of that. These are subjects that we are all supposed to gain knowledge in, and not only gain knowledge in, but actually practice. So with that said, as was said, I come from the Eastern Cape, did my primary studies at Tuwa, Butterworth, and then went to do my high school Tata school, Holy Cross High, then matriculated 04. So I think I'm the youngest here as well, by the way. Some words about 1970 something. I wasn't around then. Anyways, so matriculated 2004, came to UCT, rough journey as far as my studies is concerned, but finally graduated 2011. So I would say I got married relatively soon after I started working, because I graduated 2011, started working as an intern 2012, got married 2014. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because my journey towards marriage is when I'd say my journey in finances, or starting to think about finances, started. Because I started developing a habit of saving a lot when I was saving for lobola. That's what got me into, like, you know what, you have to be serious.
The money a man must save.
Of course, you must show yourself a man. So it was like, hey, the coins are not that much. Of course, I was starting working, but I know that the lobola can probably go deep in my pocket relative to how much I'm earning at the time. So that's when I started to be introduced to the idea of saving aggressively. So, and then at the same time, I had enough money to pay for lobola, but there wasn't enough for the wedding. You know, the expectations of, I think on both sides of the family, both my side and my wife's side, there hadn't been a wedding in a marriage or a wedding in a while. So there's kind of like, we're expecting this big thing. Took a loan. I think it was 150,000 Rand loan. And then wonderful wedding. We still have the photos and the video to show for it. But then as soon as me and my wife came back to Cape Town, and then we sat down, we're like, okay, the wedding is done. Now we have to start this marriage stuff. Hey, the Capitec payback loan. Hey, it was tough. It was tough. Such that after all of the, you know, the debit orders went off, the car, Capitec, food, money for, you know, train, because I was traveling by train. That was my primary mode of transport. We were left with virtually nothing. I mean, we had at times like 200-300 rands to sustain us for the month in terms of like bread here and all of that. So from then, that's when we took the decision to say that we have to get out of this as soon as possible, number one. Number two, we have to make sure that we do not get back into this. We're not going to deal with like loans, more especially careless ones that are not geared towards, you know, that will not help accumulate wealth later on. We're not doing that again. And on top of that, we want to gear ourselves towards wealth creation so that there's a later on in life we're well off, and on top of that we lay a better foundation for our children. So I think that's I'll stop it there. That's kind of like where I come from and how my mind started thinking about financial health, personal finances, and how to stay out of debt, be as healthy as possible as far as finances are concerned. So that's me as brief as I can be.
Thank you so much. I think you've helped us to really segue. I know, guys, that we had structured our questions in a particular way, but I'd like us now, I'm going to come back to the question I was going to ask about your companies here and now as Zanele. But I just want us to pick up on where Zooks has left off. Let's talk about this issue of indebtedness. And secondly, why is this topic that we're talking about important, particularly in the context of indebtedness? And let's understand, Siya, you've worked in the banking sector. Can you just tell us about this issue of indebtedness, particularly of professionals, because some of us are a salary away from poverty. And a lot of it has to do with what Zooks was talking about now, which is debt. Sometimes you get out of school already with a huge debt. You get married, you make with a huge debt. Everything that you do, you buy a car, huge debt. So tell us about, can you just quantify, just tell us about the issue of indebtedness and you too, Zanele. Let's start with you, Siya.
Yeah, look, I must be honest with you, Pat. The color of indebtedness is black. You know, I've been in a bank for a very long time.
Sure.
We know when you are in a bank, you are exposed to all the worlds, basically the two worlds, the black and the white. Yes, I understand that white people have been privileged throughout the years, but I found out, you know, there are many services that the bank would offer, but abantu abamnyama dibafumana kwa personal loan. That is a line. That is a line abantu abamnyama banintsi khona. And I've always, this used to intrigue me. I'm thinking, really? I mean, must we go and create this debt to make the organizations get richer and richer and richer? Because the problem is, the reason why it's very difficult, Pat, to get out of that, and Zooks actually has mentioned it, where when he said he struggled to live, it's the interest. It's the interest that you have to pay. Because it has been categorized as a unsecured debt.
Okay.
So basically, it's not a secured debt like a house. Where you said, I've got a house, give me a better interest. And unsecured debt, you just go to the bank and say, give me 100,000. And then the bank won't ask you, if you don't return it, what I'm going to take you. Yes, they don't. They just give you 100,000. It's like a credit card. Then they clap you 21%. So this basically speaks to, I don't know, can you hear me?
You're breaking a little bit, and now and then we lose you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
You can hear me now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Look, the problem, first of all, Pat, this is a generalization.
Yeah.
Obviously, what I'm going to say now. If we can budget, let's start there. You know, because the budget, Lena, is going to tell us when is the right time to buy that asset. That's the first one.
Yeah.
The budget will tell me when am I going to get married, right? The budget will tell me, not him now.
Yes. Okay. I think just before you get to the solutions, I just want us to understand the depth of the problem. We're gonna get back to the issue now.
Okay.
But you've said something which is very, very mouthful and very striking. You said the color of indebtedness is black. Man, that's a huge thing. And you know it because you've worked in the bank and you've seen that the personal finance loans queue is black. Now let's get to Zanele quickly. Zanele, talk to us about indebtedness. Zook started off by sharing his personal example of 150 loans of money that was spent on one day, mostly.
Well, the first thing, Prophet, we need not to ignore the history behind this. We do not have access to money. The main reason why we get into banks and all these other institutions is because of lack of access to money. We buy houses because we don't have money. We buy cars because we do not have the cash, the lump sum. So now, so we need to appreciate that there is a history to that we do not have the access. Now we need to understand in the fact that there is, because of the lack of access, we need to separate. There is developmental debt. There is also consumable debt. Now, this is very important. We need to educate each other about that. Now, I do not have access. Most of us went to universities. We were indebted through NSFAS, you know, and now you are going there to acquire education so that you can improve your life, because by being educated, you are trying to better your life so that you can have access to. But now, because of lack of access, you are now indebted. Do you understand? So now, can we then say education is a developmental debt? Because there is a reason, is that I want to improve my state because there's a hope that if I'm educated, therefore I'm going to earn a higher salary. Do you understand? Then there is a consumable debt. A consumable debt is a debt whereby it says, this is a big wedding that is going to come. There is pressure. There is a societal pressure that everything is going to happen that day, is going to be finished. All food, venues, everything is going to be consumed. There is nothing. Does this wedding per se make me a better person? No, you already have a wife. You can marry anyhow. You paid lobola, you can marry anyhow. The issue is the wedding is this. That's memorable. So I'm just trying to differentiate this so that we can understand. Now, you have a car. Why are you buying a car? Is it a tool of trade? If it's a tool of trade, okay, you need it for the production of income, right? I need a car because my job requires me to do ABC, especially in South Africa with the failing public transport system. So now we get a lot of people buying cars. So I do not have access to buy with a certain amount of car. So this car now, the question is, the Toyota Tez can take you from point A to point B. I'm choosing to buy a SUV. Do you understand? The whole thing is that I want to have a tool. But now, any car can take you from point A to point B so that you can fulfill your work. But the choice that I'm making to get an SUV instead of getting a Toyota Tez, now that becomes a consumable, because now you are moving away from the core, which is a production of income. You are moving to an SUV because there is a pressure that I need to be seen, or whatever that motivates you. Is it my choice? Because we've got different choices. Now, those are issues that we need to unpack so that we can understand, when do you define what is developmental? When do you define that what is something that is consumable? So that you can have a clarity to say that now this choice that I'm making now, how is it going to impact, you know, this debt that I'm going to service, right? Because that TT or whatever it is, the car that you're buying, maybe it was going to be less expensive than what you are choosing now. So you've moved out completely. So now we need to separate that. number one, I said we appreciate the fact that we do not have access to money, we didn't inherit things, and so which makes us to be far ahead, far below our white counterparts in terms of, because some people, when I was at varsity, they already had cars, and they were students with cars, with everything. So with us, you still have to pay the loan, you still have to also get a tool of trade, because you need to get to point A to point B. So you are indebted. You still, we cannot run away from the fact that we are in this sandwich. There is a home that you need to take care. You are educated now, your mother and your parents, whoever is expecting something, you have to take care of your siblings. Those are the realities that we are experiencing. Those are the realities that we're experiencing. So now we need to sit down and understand now, how do we differentiate that? Sia mentioned something to say that, okay, we are aware that there's budgeting, he's going to a solution, but now we need to understand that these are causes that makes people to be indebted. And one cause is that when you get into the bank, the person that is servicing you is definitely telling you about personal loan, not other means. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You get in there, you don't have an idea of products, right? You understand your need at the moment, but there are no other instruments beside this, that whoever is meeting you at the bank, the consultant, is only telling you at this. So you are limited in terms of your knowledge. You say, where do I get what? You know the need, but how do you go about? You are not educated enough. So now, therefore, you consume a product that probably in the first place, you were not supposed to get that product. But through your lack of knowledge, now you are indebted. Because now, why? Had you known first to say that, look, this is going to cripple my credit record. This is going to do this. This is, how do I play around so that I can be at an advantage to negotiate this 1% that they're giving me? I can go somewhere else and get something that is far less than the 21%.
Okay, so you started talking about budgeting, and now you're coming to talking about the issue of the power to negotiate. We're going to get there now. Yeah. Zooks, this kind of conversation that we're now having, and also with the help of retrospection, how would it have helped you before you entered into, in other words, I'm trying into that huge debt. So I'm trying to figure out for you, how important is this kind of discussion we're having now? Would it have helped you in how you took your decisions?
So in hindsight, I would say that definitely, of course, they would have needed back then, because it's easy for me to speak now with the journey, me looking back, experienced the journey. Yes. But if I was to say jump back into the past and evaluate myself, then one element would also need to be in place, a willingness in me to heed to advice. I don't know if that makes sense. So the information may be there, but if I am not willing to actually pause and say, okay, you know what, continuing with the example of my wedding, and be willing to say, okay, let me delay the wedding by 6 months. Maybe in 6 months' time or whatever, I would have had enough time to save up a bit more, so that I do not have to take on this big a loan, for instance. So there would need to be a willingness for me to listen to. But definitely an absence of what I can say though is that generally it's improving now a bit. For instance, case in point, the talk that you've organized now, but historically there's been a drought of these sort of talk and this information being available. And as a result, definitely me at least having access to this information, so that I can somewhat pause and say, oh, okay, I need to consider the fact that if I take this loan for the next 5 years, there's going to be 5,000 rands that's going to be coming out of my check, or out of my income. Will I be able, am I ready to take on that sort of like a weight? Do I even have to take it on? Is it necessary, etc.? So definitely this information, I would say it would have made a significant amount of difference and even empower me to say, okay, let's go back to our families even and somewhat regulate the expectation and see if we can't negotiate to say, guys, look, yes, we all want a what you call a royal sort of like wedding, caliber wedding. But the reality is that after that, we have to live. After the wedding, there's then the marriage that we have to live. So can we maybe scale down a bit or set expectation and all of that? But without the empowerment of this sort of information that we're talking about, you don't even know. Not only do you not even know how to start to have that conversation even with your community, your family, you do not even know that that conversation is there to be had to begin with. Or all you know is that big wedding is expected, bank has a loan, so A plus B equals I take loan from bank and I have the wedding. That's the only thing that I know that's available out there. But whereas this sort of information at least allows you to explore the more financially wiser side of approaching these things.
And unfortunately, two of our guests here, I think I'm going to give you now, Sia. Two of our guests have established businesses to deal with this matter. Sia, make your point, but also tell us about the business that you established and how are you addressing this kind of thing and how are you helping people to deal with the decisions and also wealth creation issues. And then we're going to do the same with Zanele.
Okay, thanks, Pat. I think Zooks is mentioning a very critical point here, the willingness, because this is what I have picked up, as abantu abamnyama, we need to get to a space where we value financial advice, because financial advice is not a kettle that you buy from Spar. It's tangible. You can see it and boil your water. It doesn't mean that it's not important. You see, it's very important because can I tell you something? Because in your financial journey, let's say you're going to Johannesburg. If you do not have a financial advice, you will start in Namibia first. Because you don't have the roadmap. You'll start in Namibia and then straight to Joburg. You have wasted years. You see, and those years have actually costed you so much money. So it is very important that we get into a space where we value financial advice. Let's not say, no, I'm not going to pay for this thing because it's not tangible. Because you need it. It's like an accountant as well. You need an accountant if you're running your own business. So let me get to my business then. Mkhumana Investment is an authorized 100% Black-owned and financial service provider. So, this business, from what we are discussing now, it was founded out of a strong need for more personalized support in the investment sphere, the retirement planning, the fiduciary services, and also the personal and business assurance within the professional and the business market, right? Okay. So this business focuses on 5 spheres. One would be the offshore and domestic investments. If you want to, so what we do, we're leaning more on collective investment schemes like your unit trust, right? So we assist our clients to make the right investment decisions for their future, whether it be medium or long term. So basically we're saying, because the second one, we focus on financial planning. This speaks to your retirement planning. I can tell you now, most people do not know how much money they will have.
Yes.
I can tell you now, most people do not know. If I were to ask you, Pat, do you know how much you have. when
You're exposing us all now, man.
And how much you will draw on a monthly basis, you know, when you retire. So basically, I make you to look at yourself, you know, to say, hey, ingathi ndihamba nje ndiyafuthuza. Hey. Otherwise, andiyazi ungomso undibekele ntonini. So that's the second one. Then we look at the risk management. This is very important. We said the color of indebtedness is black, so meaning because we never left properties, we never left trust funds. So in London, we need to go buy properties, and that is a debt. We accumulate debt. Then we need to go buy a vehicle, and that is debt. So I'm going to just talk about those two. Yes. Right. So what we do, I look at your liability exposure, right? Yeah. And ask yourself, if you were to lose your job today, or if you were to die today, Pat, with la matyala, azawubhatala kanjani? Ingaba uNomonde will be able to take over. Those are some of the questions that I'll ask you. Then if the answer is no, because remember, the bank is not your friend. So, but they're smiling a lot, man. Even their interviews, they put out a lot of great stuff. So bank is not your friend.
How can we help?
So bank, when you fall today, tomorrow, the bank will come on.
Absolutely.
And ask Unomonde, you have Vichalelinga, and the repayment is so much. Yes. I want to be able to take over. Yeah. Unomonde says, no ways. I want to be able to take over. Then the bank says, rather sell the property, man. Yeah, sell the property and give him my money back. Then the relationship a covenant too. It's gone. You see, so I get to assist those clients to say, look, there are products that you can take in making sure that you mitigate that risk. And obviously, one product that always comes to mind would be your life cover. I know certain people don't believe in that. I don't know why they don't believe in life cover, but if you've got debt, you take the life cover. Especially if you are married and with children. Because how are you going to build generational wealth? You have worked so hard for 50 years, then you die, Pat, and now no one can take over this debt. And then everything just goes. Everything. Then they have to start from scratch. That is not fair. So I tell my clients, look, you've got this risk here. You just make sure that you cover this risk, because if you fall today, then there will be problems in the. So we do that. Then we look at the fourth one would be your personal and your commercial assurance. So that would be your household insurance, that would be your motor vehicle insurance, that would be your fire insurance on the business side, your property on the business side. So we assist our clients. Basically, we're a one-stop shop. We assist our clients in making sure that they have those things in place. And then the last one, which is critical as well, is our fiduciary services. So our fiduciary services, this is where we sit down with you and say, you know what, Pat, you have worked so hard for 30 years now. You need to draft a will. Because if you do not draft a will, law will make a decision for you. Sure. You don't want the law to make a decision for your assets. You must make a decision for your assets. And you don't want your money to be handled by the master. No, you don't want your money to be held by the master. In any government, for that matter, you don't want your money to be held. So we assist our client to say, let's draft your will. Once you've drafted your will, we will help you. We will help your family when you are no longer there to wind up your estate. That will be administration. That is the last part that we do. So basically, we're offering a full basket of service. So a client that comes to me does not need to go somewhere else. And the beauty about this company is that you are not a number. You are not a number. So yabona xa uya kwezinye indawo like banks umetshwini phaa noba uyi-exit. Yeah, it's just a
you're just a number.
Yeah, you're just a number. And by the way, let me tell you this. That last one, let me tell you this. You die today, Pat, and then no one that goes there, and asks, yo, you guys got my will here, I need to wind up an estate. Then it's highly possible that that job will be given to a junior to do. So that is why other people are still complaining that the winding up of the estate is taking too long. It's because some of these businesses are given to juniors to
deal with it. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Siya. Zanele, please also just address how are you helping people like us in order to create wealth, but also to deal with these issues that we have identified as problems. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Pat, I just think it's very important that I just position the fact that I have a very extensive experience in the insurance industry. I also did my postgraduate in diploma at University of Free State, and also a certified planning certificate with Middle Park as well. So yeah, and I looked at this in every institution that I have worked for. I mean, all the big five, I've worked for them. Worked as a broker. Worked as also an attacking in terms of how do I market this product.
Okay.
Yeah. So and also I also had an experience with asset management where I worked at an asset management company where we dealt with institutional investors like your pension funds and then I also moved back to corporate where we dealt with the pension funds in terms of and people understanding when FSCA just did the regulations on default regulations. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes. Default regulations and all that. So whereby people what we've seen when we were there is that people do not have an understanding of their pension, what they have. And most people in South Africa, they consult very late. When they are about to retire, that's the only time that they are seeing a financial advisor, which is a problem because you need to see a financial advisor prior to that. So we will do the pre-retirement session and also post-retirement session so that people can understand what is it. Before, 10 years before, it's very important that you see a financial advisor, you know, and have that. So now with that passion, I mean, I left a legacy there of starting an education program for that institution. And because this was my passion, my bosses, everybody knew in that company where I've worked that this is an education person because I was more passionate. I saw people and I would sit down even when I was at work and I would call people one by one and I would ask a youngster, do you have a house? And they would say, no, Sister Zanele, I am renting it. And then I sit down and say, why are you renting? And then she would tell me this and this and that. I was like, okay, let me sit down. We are going to have a 6-month plan. You are going to do this. No, I've got these debts, and I would explain to them. I've seen, and I would explain to them and take them through to say, how do you pay your debts more quicker? And giving them practical ways to do that. And I've got testimonies of people who said, you helped me. Today, I own a house. Today, I improved my credit record. How do I, you know, I can be able to buy things that I never thought I would own. And also, I mean, I was doing this pro bono at that time in the institution. And, you know, I was part of a group when we do market access. We acknowledged that at that time that education will be the one key to actually give access to the market, because people need to be educated so that they can consume a product, so that they can see the need. Because I mean, one thing is that when I give Siya a business, I don't want to give Siya a business whereby somebody says, today I need a life cover, tomorrow says, no, I don't, and that she doesn't pay that life cover. That creates a problem for Siya, because this person has taken a product without understanding. So and then it creates a big problem. So we need to make sure that people are educated. And the reason why, I mean, we saw this I've worked with all income stream, high affluent market and low market. And I saw the pain. I mean, I would sit at my work and write power of attorney so that I can access people to say why, people crying to me to say, my house is being repossessed now. And we were just dealing with debt in terms of teaching people about debt. And then the person says, my house is being repossessed. And I would sit with that person to say, why? You know, and people would say to me, no, I don't know. They, you know, clients sometimes are not honest. They will never tell you that they did receive summons, they did receive this, and they just kept quiet. They just didn't know what to do. And it's true. People are, because they don't know where to knock. They don't know what to do. And they just dismiss it. I've known this for me. The repossessions of houses, it's something that is very, very, it's a trauma to me, because I saw my sister having that experience when I was in Joburg. So every time when somebody says my house is being repossessed, I cringe. And, you know, I understand the process is to say that the foreclosures in these big banks, how do they do the process? So I would follow up to say, what has happened? And then I would immediately say, okay, power of attorney, get to that bank and say, give me the details, what happened? And then they would give me information. I'll say, sir, but you did receive this, you did receive this, you did receive this, you just didn't know how to act. Now, how do I help you here? If I can, most of the people, I mean, I know for families whereby the card was out, this house is going for auction, that I managed to take it out. And I, you know, and I didn't need to be a lawyer. It's just understanding the processes, because I was exposed to these things. And so I thought this is very important for me to say that our people are being sometimes exploited, and sometimes they don't know where to go. And they are exploited because they do not understand, despite NCA that has come to for the protection of consumers, but our people are still being exploited. What is the key there? And me being very passionate, by the way, when Siya said he was passionate about advertising, my first passion was law. In everything was law, yes. And everybody, even in the institutions that I worked for, they would always say, Zanele, are you a lawyer? I said, no, I'm not. But I've always been passionate about it.
Yeah, a natural lawyer.
Yes, yes. So now I think that's what influenced me to say, you know, I could drive there, because anyway, so my son completed his LLB degree. Then I said, you know what, you will explain the legalities of a contract so that a person can understand. Because one thing now is that people, now I'm going to Akeke, with me having a financial
Akeke is the name of your business,
Yes. Now, which is named after my son. So with me having a financial, this whole financial background, I realized that the key is that our people, they need to have their relationship with money is very different from persons to person. I do not judge. I would not say cringe, do this, but I need to understand, why are you behaving like this? This is key. Our families, where we are coming from, they shape somehow our realities. There are things that we mimic because of how we grew up, and sometimes the pressures that are within us, what is expected in the cultures. That's the key thing. So now, where I start with this program is to understand the relationship with money. Our relationship with money, it's different. So, and you get into marriage, these two people, they attended counseling and everything, but the fact that they are coming from different families, this is going to impact how they make decisions about money in that marriage. This is very important, because one might be very liberal and one might be, you know, so it creates a whole lot of friction in the marriage.
Dynamics,
so that's why it's very important. So now, then we talk about understanding your current realities now. Okay, I don't consult with people when they have money. I want to understand your current realities now. Be free. You know, people can go to therapies and talk about whatever, even their sexual relationship, but they will never talk about their money. It's a secret thing. So what is important is that when you make a person understand that this is where you are, I'm not going to judge you. This is what happened. So look at your current reality, get your bank statement, get so that I can see clearly. Do you know the interest that we are paying? And the term of what we are paying for, you know, and then when a person comes that and see, so now I have to teach you what is interest, because those who understand it, they earn it, but those who do not understand it, they pay it. So you need to understand that that's compound interest as well, so that you can be clear in this thing. So why should you come out? Because there is a little understanding. A person says, just looks and says, okay, I'm going to pay 1.5%. Most people in the sessions, they do not know what is the actual interest that they are paying. And they have to, and I would say, go and look. Do you know what is your interest in your credit card? No, I don't know. I just know that I'm paying this amount per month, but they don't know the interest.
Okay.
So you look at that and just having those understandings so that the financial terms are explained in a simple term that people can understand. Interest, compound interest, inflation. What are we talking about when we're saying that your money does erode at a certain time? So that you don't have to, you know, you don't need to go to school, but at least have a fundamental understanding of these things. So I teach those things then, and then, you know, and the financial indicators, people they are aware when they hear how is the rand going up and down, how does it impact me as I'm sitting here? What is the rand exchange rate today? You know, how does it impact me as I'm sitting here? So when is the time when we see that, okay, the economy is going to, you know, face difficulties, that it's time for you to increase your savings? Or if you were going to go for retirement and this year, and the rand is so weak, or the economy is doing very bad, how is it going to impact your pension? Remember now that we've got benefit defined contributions, and some of the things, some of the people don't understand how their pension is constructed. So people think that that's going to be determined that I'm going to receive that money. No, some of the pensions are highly dependent on the contribution and the investment performances. So those are key things. So people always think that, okay, it's a long-term thing, let me leave it there, it's going to do a magic, it's going to grow. No, it doesn't just do a magic. You have to understand that even though it's a long-term, pay interest where it is invested. There is a time factor. There is also where it is invested. So people need to understand those things. So you also just try to educate people about that, because they just shift it. And then I also educate now in terms of product knowledge in general. What is this insurance? What you have, I don't look at different things. What you have, explain it to them so that in a simple language. I've worked with, you know, lawyers in my company to say that how do we write a contract in a simple way that people can
that's
understand
the problem.
without this jargon that you are giving them. I mean, one of my bosses used to say to me, listen here, and we talk to the actuaries and lawyers who say that I need a one-page contract and I will be able to stand in court about it. And I questioned, I said, but what do you mean? Because I mean, FNAs are big and, you know, there's lots of jargon that is there. But I understood it very important to say that it's simple for you to explain things without having to hide all these things. That's where the key is. People have these things, but they do not understand their workings. And sometimes when it's supposed to claim, people are disappointed. It's because they never understood what is there. Hence, now it was important for me, for AKG, to be able to have that qualification, so that if we have contracts, how do we explain it to people in a layman's term so that they can understand? So we are advocates for our people. If I'm sending to say that these are the gaps, this is what you have, now you understand, now you are empowered to know exactly what you have. Then if there is a gap in terms of your knowledge of what you need, then I would say, yay, see ya, there is a gap here in terms of insurance, go and to see ya. Otherwise, I'm also holding SIA accountable to make sure that whatever process that you are going through, you understand. Even if SIA is going there, you're going to SIA, you are still going to make sure that SIA is giving you the proper advice, because our people don't understand what is proper, what constitutes proper advice.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you. I think I just want to go back to Kuzuksan, but before we do that, I just need to read some of the messages that are written here. You know, I can see that Mamulinda Ngeni is watching, Nomawethu Maqetuka is watching, Monez Ntleki, Nomawethu is coming back to say, Enkosi Gatyeni and Tim Silapa, Babalwa Nathi Futuse, Uma Ulungisa Yaze, sorry, yes, Tazinambiza ngesiduko sakhe, uKhila Stofile, Uthotyelwa Libumbe Pikoli, Motse Ramate, Ngweno Gaga, Loyiso Sizwe Mosi. People are watching. You know, there are so many people. I cannot read all of them, but Uti Omyev, you depends on the poswa. Ucho Apa Beauty Slata Kotela and Luandama Ulutandum Dabambi has written something here. He says, sure, Jodwana, I need to draft a will. This has been bothering me for some time now, and I think it's very important. Again, Utokyela comes back to say, I like the will part. Please ask Sia if one has to share with family or spouse the details of your will. So listen to those questions, and when we come back to you, please answer that. We can see Oka Gweta Buta Ubukele Uzintekom. Good job, Katyen. Naguma Katyen, Unutuzelo Yona. Watching, very important topic for our people, Bunge Wembunge. Now, this you can sense, guys, that is very important. And I want you, Sia and Zanele, to please, in the comment notes here, write how people can get hold of your company, either a website or something like that, so that people can get a bit more about that. Now, let's come to you, Zooks. Zooks, you were there, you are a testimony. And I've seen some of your posts on Facebook where you're taking us through what you have done. Let's come to you. What have you been doing to try and get on top of that? Not only that, save, build what you call. How did you come about with that plan going forward?
So I'll start off by saying, I consider myself as being relatively early in my journey, so to speak, in the early stages, if I may put it that way. But long story short was, first of all, getting the buy-in of my household. That is my household's a 50% shareholder, my wife, to say that, you know what, we need to do this. So our first step was to we had to get rid of debt as soon as possible. So the way that we went about doing this was, number one, not taking any more debt. We're like, we need to have a freeze on anything that is debt related. And then number two, we then used a process that's known as snowball effect. So what we did effectively was to say, let's target our smallest debt first, and then get rid of that. Our two main debts was our car, and then the Capitec loan, the 150,000 Capitec loan. There was also student loans on the side that we were kind of like ignoring for a period. Zanele spoke about NSFAS. Both of us had like NSFAS loans. So we're kind of like ignoring. Yay. We ignored those for some time because they weren't sending us letters or anything. So what we did is that we attacked the car one viciously. And one of the things that were critical is that every time, oh, by the way, my wife is a stay-at-home wife. We're homeschooling our kid. Maybe Trambi, just to kind of like add that bit of information to give context. So what we would do, and so I'm the primary provider. So what we would do is that every time our income would increase, so a pay bump at work, we would not increase our level of living. Effectively, we would keep our level of living exactly where it is, as much as possible. Maybe increase ucha a little bit and just but over and above, the big chunk of that annual increase would go towards taking care of the debt. So that was the main way in which we accelerated our paying off. So we finished off the car, and then I think that was probably end 2016, 2017, somewhere there. I don't remember the years. Finished off the car, and then immediately all of that money that now was going towards the car, we rechanneled it towards Capitec. And by the way, it's not that similar to, in all of our debts, we were paying the bare minimum at the very least. So we were not defaulting. We made sure we were paying the bare minimum, except NSFAS. So we finished off the car, and then as soon as we were done, took all of that money now, and then we started paying off NSFAS. We rushed NSFAS as well. I'm not NSFAS, I mean Capitec, the Capitec loan. We rushed the Capitec loan. We finished that off, and then when we were done with that, then we started saving a bit, and then we were like, oh, by the way, I think for a couple of months, and we were like, oh, wait a minute, we can't say we're debt-free completely. There's still this NSFAS business. So got a hold of NSFAS, found out what our balances were and what we needed to do, and then we rushed those. I think we finished both of because remember, over the years, the income is increasing, but we are keeping our level of living relatively the same. So that means the amount of money that we have to be able to do things with, it's increasing. Because asithi class gain, let's say 1,000 Rand extra, then we're like, hey, let's find another debt, 1,000 Rand, because we weren't doing that. And as a result, that I call it wealth creation opportunity, the gap between the gap between income and the expenses. So this balance here, that's what allows you to maneuver around. So it was increasing over the years. So by the time we were completely done, and then dealing with NSFAS, we had a lot of maneuvering grounds. As a result, both my wife and my NSFAS, we finished in a space of a year. And then when we were done with that, we were like completely debt free. And then from there, we were like, you know what? We're hitting a pause on any debt. We need to kind of like study a bit, give us a chance, breather, to see the options that are there. But then the first thing now, which is where we are effectively in our journey, is that we were like, we would like to get we stay in a rented 2-bedroom apartment. And so it's my wife, myself, and my daughter. And we were like, you know what, we still relatively comfortable with this, but we would like to actually buy. Now I know, you know, there are vehicles that are out there, but because of the trauma of the debt for us, it was very traumatic. we took the decision to say that, you know, at a very young age, we took the decision to say, you know what, let's rather aggressively save, still lower our expenses as much as possible, and then buy our first apartment cash, so that we don't have to deal with the bond and to free up a lump sum of money. And I don't mind sharing to say that roughly right now, rent is give or take 7K. When we buy, rates and levies will be give or take 2,000 Rand. So you can imagine that'll be that amount that's sort of like freed up to further allow us then to explore other investments, etc., opportunities.
Okay.
And that we sometime this year we should be buying our apartment. That is to say, our first apartment, effectively. So that's roughly where we are, and that's the journey that we have gone into. And then after now we are beginning to say that, okay, you know what, trauma of debt has gone. We may also look into exploring using it debt. We will see using it debt more in a responsible way that will help us to generate. I think there's this term Mrs. Zanele used. What was she calling it? Debt,
developmental debt, I think.
Yes, exactly. So okay, if it's developmental, it will assist us to, let's say, either upskill or to buy assets that will give us more income later on, and all of that. We will explore those things. But for now, we were like, okay, let's first get in the Utlala so that we know at least, no matter what, a roof on top of our heads, and then we look towards that. I think maybe I can pause there, or maybe this is the last thing that I'll say in case I'm something at typical moving forward. So roughly to kind of like give you an idea of where we are gunning towards, our aim is to, I'm 34 I'm turning 35 this year. My wife is turning 33. So our aim is that when I am, let's say, roughly 45, we should be in a position whereby I can stop working, and we don't have to work at all. So effectively reaching financial independence. I think that's the term. Not that I'm saying I want to retire, but the aim is to be in a position by that age to retire if we so choose. So that's kind of like what the aim is. And I think, yeah, I'll pause it there. That's kind of like our financial journey.
It sounds as if you had the hard knocks, but you managed to do something early enough. And I think those of us who are listening, who may be feeling that, hey, for me, the time is already past, I'm over 40, I'm closer to 50, there's always a chance for someone. And I think our colleagues here, Sia is going to talk to us now about how can we multiply people like Zooks. How can we have those kinds of people? And by the way, Zooks, now you have got two experts, specialists that you can say, here's my plan. Can you advise me on what to do? See, I'm going to come to you, but let me read messages here for you and Zanele, where Uncedo Mchani is saying costing for drafting and maintaining the will. If you can share that, and I think you, Zanele, you can make a point as well. This is one of the aspects or area where Black families unfortunately have been found wanting. Zanele, I work in property industry, mostly deal with distressed sale. I know the pain when people lose their properties. I also deal with deceased estate. Our people need that free education you talked about. I also wish that more professional people can understand that people need knowledge before they can buy into any product you are selling them. And then Ubongi Wembonge is back saying, it's important to note that financial planners are specialists. And I think this is the point that you guys were talking about earlier on, that we must value advice and we mustn't go late to seek advice. And then she says, finance qualifications does not license you into financial advisory. As a CA, I have always had financial advisor, their specialist expertise adds value. And then Siyabulela Jodwana, can you touch on the difference between your executor having a management fee from your estate versus monthly admin payments to reduce the burden on your heirs, the people that you leave behind? And I think people are commenting on what you were saying, Zooks, talking about living below your means. A wonderful Zooks, which you being at finances need good discipline. Oh, guys, there's so much. Let's just speak to what people are asking for. Make whatever comments you want to make on what Zooks was saying. But I do want us to talk about the idea of budgeting. I do want us to talk about the issue of saving. How do we save? It could be through, Zukisani has decided to take an approach in the family to do that themselves. But there may be other products of saving that you guys may advise about. I want us to talk about investment platforms that people can start using. And ultimately, how do we really create intergenerational wealth? Sia, let me hand over to you. You've heard the questions that people are asking. Zanele, you've heard the questions, and straight after Sia, please come in.
Okay, all right, Pat. Let me try. Please do assist me if I have missed a question.
I will.
With the wills one, I think it came from Utokelo. Yes, the second one from Landon Khan.
Yes.
Well, there's a reason why a beneficiary does not, in fact, there's a reason why a beneficiary is not allowed to sign a will. is because they must not be privy of the content of the will. You see, so immediately, immediately, exactly. So the reason why, if you sign it as a beneficiary, you are not allowed to inherit. So that is why you must make sure that whoever advises you on wills knows exactly what they are talking about, because you can grab maybe your brother or a son to sign as a witness. Then you die. Your son is not allowed to inherit at all, because they signed, they were privy of the will. They read it. Okay. So basically, I think it answers Tokela's question. So you don't need to share the content of the will with your family. It's yours. It's private. So that is why if you come to me, Tokela, I will keep the copy. I will keep the copy. Then you can tell your husband that if something happens to me, just call Sia, you know, and then Sia will be able to wind up your estate. Look, I think Mtani is asking about the cost.
The costing of drafting a will. Sia, just before you move there, but also if you keep your will at the bank, you talked about earlier on about the bank providing junior official. So is that an advisable thing to do? If you can combine these two as well as use Zanele?
No. I will not keep my will at the bank.
Okay.
So that's my answer to you. Okay. I will not keep my will at the bank.
Okay. I've heard you. All right.
Okay. All right.
Costing.
Look, to draft a will takes time. I think Bongi as well mentioned that we are specialized. So what we do, we take pride in what we do. So we do charge a fee. I'm happy to say, I mean, for drafting of the will, we charge a very minimal fee of, and then obviously we keep it. This is just your will. It's not a joint will. The husband and the wife. It's just your will. Okay, I think that's what Mtani was asking about. Okay, so to Bongi's questions, I might have missed the second part of her question. If she can just remind me as well. Look, by law, to wind up the estate, by law, we are allowed to charge. We are allowed. We may. These are as terms. We must be able to understand. We may charge up to 3.5%. This is excluding VAT of your net assets, right? Yes. So if you include 15% VAT, it takes you to 4%. So basically, this is going to be your expense that comes from on your estate when you die. So you need to make sure as well that there is enough cash in that estate so that you can pay me when I wind up your estate.
All right.
So if you don't have enough cash, then I have to sell a property. No, I'm just kidding. So the last part, I'm assuming I didn't catch the last part, but I think I know what it was. If
I can interject. Yeah, so she was saying I'm assuming Bongi Bunge's question. Can you touch, so the full question, can you touch on the difference between your executor having a management fee from your estate versus making monthly admin payments to reduce the burden on your heirs?
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's like a once-off fee versus an admin monthly fee or something like that.
Yeah. Look. There are companies that would give you a package or a policy, right? To say on a monthly basis, you're going to pay me 100 rands. That 100 rands will make sure when you die, that policy will be paid out and cover all your expenses. But to me, there isn't much a difference for me. I mean, there isn't much a difference because you can have a life cover. The life cover can address the same problems that you have. But you can decide if you want to have a specialized life cover that only covers your executor's fee. You've got a choice. But the financial advisor would tell you that there is no need for you to have separate life covers. A financial advisor will make sure that they have enough to cover the risk.
I think what I want to interject and say is that people can then pick up these conversations with our experts in their private time. We've got their details here online. So people, if they want to know a bit more detailed information, even before they decide to use them as their service provider, feel free to contact them and get in touch with them. Because for now, we're just trying to get to the generalities. I want someone who's listening and watching here to go away with something that they can do practically, starting from today, around issues of budgeting, saving, investing, wealth creation. We need to have those conversations. See, I'm going to give you a few more minutes just to address those issues and then come to Zanele to address the same questions.
Okay, all right. Sorry, man, Pat, I missed your question. Can you repeat the question?
No, I wanted you to go back to the issue of budgeting.
Oh, yes, okay.
In order to be able to do the payment of debt, the saving, your estate, all those kinds of things that we're talking about. Let's look at the input. How do people do that? Where do they start and what do they do?
I think Zooks Zooks has addressed this thing. Zooks is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Of using a budgeting tool properly. You know, I can tell you must start with a zero budget. That works. A zero budgeting, because a zero budgeting accounts to your to each and every cent that's in your bank account. So you don't find yourself not knowing where your money has gone. Remember that book, Who Took My Cheese or something like that. So you don't find yourself not knowing. So you start, if you earn 20,000, if there's 20,000 coming into your account, you must account to that 20,000. So that means you need to sit before your money comes in. As an Adventist, you've got your tithe and your offerings.
Abafundisi
So that's your first line. Then your second line. So I'm speaking now obviously to someone who's not indebted, because someone who's indebted must make sure that they quickly pay off their debt. They shouldn't go to investment. It's not the time for investment yet. You must go straight to your debt, because your debt incurs a highest interest than your investment interest. So it makes sense for you to go and invest somewhere, whereas you're paying 21% on your personal loan. So now I'm speaking to someone who is not highly indebted. So the second one would be your investment line. And I want people to change this thing of putting the investment line right at the bottom when they have something. So it starts there, your second one, that I need to put something away for rainy days. So that is the second line. Your debt is structured. Your debt is structured to your fixed expenses. Obviously, that would be your house, that would be your vehicle, and then you have other debt that would be your groceries and other small stuff, your your petrol and your school fees. But what is important? What is important? You must not go. You must have money as well to spend. Entertainment. You must have money to spend as well.
Have fun.
Yes, to have fun. Yes, you don't want to be frustrated. Now, then you don't go over that 20,000. You must make sure that you don't go over that. I've got a book, but I've got a book. If you see my book, I scratch here. Okay, this one has been spent. I scratch. You have to manage your expenses. Otherwise, if you don't manage your expenses, they will manage you, and you don't want that. You see, because the minute you go over 20,000, you are earning 20,000 rand. Then you're gonna go to the bank for an overdraft. And that's when things are starting now to go down, because you're gonna start with an overdraft. Then they call you, they say, yeah, you qualify for this credit card of 20,000. You know, we're just gonna ask you a few questions. Then you started going in there. So budgeting is very important in terms of managing your expenses and also your investments, because you need to have investment line. You just can't be paying off debt on your budget. Your budget cannot be filled with debt. No. you must have your investments. You must have your life covers that addresses your risk. The enough life cover. Don't go overboard. The enough one for you. I think that's where I'll end at.
Zanele, I'm sure you're burning to share a lot of stuff here. Let's talk about what can people do. I mean, we've heard about debt eradication and so on. Let's just and I know I'm going to give a bit more time because I want to read some of the things that people are saying here. For example, Unsizi Upuja is saying, Zukisani, we need those practical strategies. Your testimony is a clear indication that it is indeed possible to improve our finances. And I think that's a value that that we all needed here. And then Ukhila Stofile, looking forward to buying your book, Sia, a copy of your book, Sia. So they're waiting for your book. Nakulazola esithi, hey, wandinceda umjita, yay, bendigowa strong. I took his advice. In less than a year, I was debt free. Wow. Nangu Andy B, my aunt, to the great program, Kajeni. When it comes to deceased estate, experience of losing loved ones has taught me that keeping as minimal money in the bank, because it will form part of it will form part of the estate and executor fees that will reduce the money that you are leaving for your heirs. Invest the money with investment houses and appoint beneficiaries. That money will be paid directly to the beneficiaries. That's another great information. Now, guys, you are giving us a lot to think about. Truth be told, most of us, abantu bamnyama, we stick our heads in the sand on financial matters. We don't have wills, we don't have plans. And so we only benefit from money purely as consumers, spenders. Not to say other races are better, but I'm just talking about us as a people. Ubongiwe is saying, I love the emphasis on debt eradication. Note that the mortgage is also a debt that you can deal with in 5 to 7 years instead of 20 to 30 years. This saves so much money. Oh, my daughter, but means the band was saying, are commenting here. But let's come to you, Zanele, so that you can also share your own on what can people do now to create wealth, you know, to build, to deal with their risk, invest, and so on.
Well, prepared just to give as well the emphasis that from my side, it's more about giving you the practical tools, and I would never give you a financial solution. When it comes to financial solution, I'll refer to Sia. I also work with law firms that deal with the the trust companies or the law firms that can actually keep your will. However, I am in a position to negotiate for executors' fees, because as Sia has indicated that it's allowed, what is allowed, this is what I negotiate with these law firms to say that if I bring a client to you and I've looked at the position of the client, will you be in a position to say, look, I've known this client and I see exactly how the finances and the liquidity in the estate of that client, and this is what the client can afford. This is what I'm trying to bring so that all these companies, hence I was saying that the negotiation is key as well, can actually see the need of helping our people. Getting into the debt, the budgeting part is very, very important. That's the crux of the matter, because you've got those fixed expenses as we're talking about. And now we need to appreciate the fact that, hence I was saying there must be an understanding of terms like what inflation is, because recently I was just reading a last quarter report from the Debt Busters, where they were actually, it was the quarter 2 in 2020, where it was actually revealing that the income has declined. That means just a nominal income, the income that does not take into consideration the buying power, that does not take into consideration inflation. So now we see that food has actually gone up. We see that petrol has actually gone up. So there's so many things that have gone up. So when we do your budget, so we need to understand that there are some adjustments that needs to be made when it comes to the expenses, because your salary or your income that you are receiving has not grown so much, especially with the pandemic issues, because most people didn't receive salary increases and or bonuses. So that has a huge impact in terms of their expenses now, because if you were spending a certain amount of money on food, now that you have not received any increases, how will that pan out in terms of your expenses? When you get into your food basket, you find out this is quite expensive. So we actually now have to look at that and look at exactly how much are your expenses. What are they? I always share some life hacks in terms of how do we avoid certain things. For example, data cost is very important, as it takes a lot of our monies as well. So how do we save? Like just practical things that we save money on our data, as well as in terms of the buying of food. How do we buy our food? There is a mindset that certain people would like to be so close to the brand, certain brands. I eat only this, I do this. And I always share this, you must actually be closer to the people who are called buyers in these companies and understand exactly what they share about the brand, because I had a privilege of sitting down with some of the people that were buyers, and they would tell me exactly to say that, look, it's the same, this company does not produce milk is coming from the same source, the packaging of what brand it is the same. It's just that now different, so people are running away from your no-name brand, because it takes something away from your status or whatever. But what I'm trying to say to you is that what you're eating, you are not eating a brand, you are eating the product that is coming from the same farm, with the same ingredients that the sun made these grapes, whatever, it is the fact that they were first grade, they're more sweeter than the others, but it's the rain and the sun that made the same tree that has made and produced that grape. So the psyche needs to be very, very important, so that people can understand. These are the things that when you're sitting down with a person and just highlighting some important aspects here, that you find a person can have about 500 or so that is being released from the budget, is because of some behaviors. So our lifestyles are expensive. You see that what separates us from other people that are doing well, it's not the salary per se or income, it's the expenses, the spending habits. It is the spending habits that separates us from the rest. Now you go to the shop, we know as women, we always buy a whole lot of things that are not on the list. And I've worked so much with the low, in the lower market, whereby a person, my mother, would give you a list of everything that she wants to write, and will give you this 1,000 rand. And she will say, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy to that shop, and exactly. And you will not maneuver, because she says, this is what I have, and will write the prices, how much, the 2.5 kg box, because she knows very well where the prices are. That is optimum. That is very important. It's just that sometimes we associate big names that people do understand what budgeting is, but now it's a matter of sticking to that. So some people, you've got apps that actually helps, because those apps are connected to your bank account. They can actually tell you exactly, this is where you spend your money. You are spending a percentage of your money in this, and they give you bars and charts and all that, so that you can see clearly where you are spending. There are, reward programs that these are connected to. Try to understand that, so that you can extract value from these things, because we might have these things that are attached to these store cards, but we don't understand them. And I always say to people that when you go to do your shopping with your list, of course, I'm emphasizing on food, because it's one element, it's a giant,
it's
that
expensive.
is taking our money.
Food is expensive.
Very expensive. It's very expensive. Today you go and you find that your basket is costing so much. Next month when you go, it's costing so much. So now it's very important that when you go there, I always say that sometimes leave your phone at home, because you do your swipes there and you send yourself money. You send yourself money. Make sure that you transfer exactly that money that you are going to use. And that's it. If you said that this is 5,000 for groceries, then let it be that it becomes 5,000, because you are tempted when you get there. Sometimes we undermine the VAT that is going to be levied on that. So this is quite important, that our spending habits, especially on things like food, things like data, you need to understand now there's, Wi-Fi expenses, DSTVs, Netflix, all those things. How do you cut there? There are things that you can live without, when you are really clinched, and try to say that, okay, can I sacrifice this for 3 months and see how my budget is going to improve after 3 months? So, and we share, things like, for you to save on fresh produce, have a little garden where you can actually have your greens every day without having to go to that shop all the time. And you can have this in the garden. So it's some of the things that you can do. Obviously, as Zux has actually shared the snowball effect, which is very important, because by cutting little debts, you're actually motivated, to actually see that, okay, within 3 months, we finished that one, within 2 months, and on those debts, we look at the highest interest. Even though you can find that sometimes a person has got a store cards probably for Shino or whatever, and then you are paying an interest of 18.7% there. And you're saying, okay, then you've got a credit card, we are paying this amount, and we're looking at the term and we're looking at the actual balance. Now we look at those things and say, okay, this one, at least if we can save here and here and here, we can pay this within next month. Can you sacrifice that? And he pays that, because you can see that you are left with 1.5, which includes plastic, by the way, because you even took the plastic on credit. And so then we can actually pay this off. And then when you pay that off, then you can take that money and pay the other one. So it goes like that. And it can also go to, there was I think it's Bongo who shared that even your mortgage bond doesn't really need to be 20. So the institutions, exactly, they must not teach them, they must not control how we do things. Let us understand how they work, so that we can take charge. So that's the core, is to say, how do we take charge of our financial management and bring, that's the core of Akege PTY, is to say, let me empower you to take charge of your own fund, bring the control back, so that you can understand these things. So when you go there, you've got a power to negotiate, you've got a power to write ask the right questions, you know where there are gaps, and therefore you know which gap to fill with what, and then you are more empowered to do that as well. So that's basically what we share. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. I don't know, the time has just moved. I'm aware that has got an anniversary today, and the family, I'm sure they're looking to say, hey, but I do want us to talk on something which is very, very, I think, important. And by the way, this issue of paying a bond in a short space of time, we're going to do a program about that. I've already in discussions with people. How can we reduce the amount of time we spend our bonds on so that we don't spend 20 years, 10 years, 15 years paying interest? Now, let's just look into this issue, the last issue before we move on, before we close. Guys, the area of investment, especially saving schemes, these things that we get sold almost every day, it sounds to me like a shark-infested area. There are so many scams out there. There are so many experiences of people that have been really badly done by and lost investment in some of these things that we're talking about. Share with us, how can we identify a scam or a Ponzi scheme in order to avoid that? Secondly, especially among the Black community, there are these informal and unregulated saving schemes, you know, that have worked for many years. How do we still protect our investment in these places without feeling, okay, we can lose here? Sia, let's come to you. And then please fill in, like chipping in as and when. We're just trying to make sure that we say quickly, by 4 o'clock, I want us to have been done.
Okay. All right, Kakien. Let me just quickly, before I get there, let me just touch on.
And Sia, did we lose you?
It seems like it's frozen.
It's frozen. Maybe you may have some thoughts on these scams and all of these things.
Okay, so the few things that I can say is that anything that says that give this amount and then in a space of a week or whatever, very short amount of time, here is money that is guaranteed to come your way, that's a red flag because investments, generally speaking, there are no such 100% guarantees. And if you can't quite explain what, so for money to be made, there must be a service that is being provided or a product that is being sold. So if you can't trace what the service is or the product is that's going to generate this money from which you are going to make profits and gain large amounts of money, for me, that's a red flag. I generally do not enter it. I must be able to trace down how the money is going to be generated that I'm going to be investing in. So I think that's the little bit that I can say.
Thank you. Sia is back. And then Zanele, prepare to deal with that question as we wrap up. And Sia, you were still saying something. Thank you, Zeus. Okay, Sia, you're mute. You are muted.
I was saying. No. Yeah. I'm okay now.
Yeah.
So there's this disease where we make our beneficiaries abantwana bethu and our wives and our husbands. There's a lot of risk there if you're talking about generational wealth, because once the money is in the hands of someone, then you've got no control of that. That money can change, gone. So there are various ways that we can make sure that we keep the assets or the investments within the fold. I mean, you can use the trust. I mean, you don't have to make a person a beneficiary. A trust can be a beneficiary. You can also make your estate a beneficiary, you know, and also you can make individuals a beneficiary. So you've got a choice. The choice is wide. But obviously, if you consult with your financial planner, then the financial planner will let you know that, look, You don't have to put everything in the hands of a year. So look, we've got a problem. We've got a problem, Kakeni, of mushrooming pyramid schemes. Pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes, they're all illegal because you find out they are not registered with FSCA because everyone who gives a financial advice must be registered with FSCA and have a license. As like Mtumane Investment has a license. Because remember, you don't have manifag, because people have a recourse. If I don't treat them well, they can go to FSCA and report me. You see? Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, no, and it's ayiko. Those are pyramid schemes. I've seen your WhatsApp, what? Those are pyramid schemes. You know, the characters, let me talk about the characteristics. You'll find out a pyramid scheme is structured so that the initial person who started it must recruit other investors who will continue to recruit other investors. Right? That's one of the characteristics of a pyramid scheme, right? So those investors will then continue to recruit additional investors and so on and so on. Sometimes there'll be maybe an incentive that is presented as an investment opportunity, you know, such as the right to sell a particular product. You know, those are not investments. You find out each investor pays a person who recruited them for the chance to sell this item. Those are pyramid schemes. I'm sorry if someone does that, but it's the way it is. It's the way it is. Those are pyramid schemes. They are not legal. It's the same. It's the same as a Ponzi scheme, where you take your savings and give it to a potential, portfolio manager who promises you high returns. You know, they promise you high returns. When you go back and say, okay, I want my money back, then they said, no, I'll give you bit by bit. So why bit by bit now? Because I want my money back. So those are the characteristics. You know, you see the person organizing this type of a fraud is in charge of controlling the entire operation. You know, I mean, you're a portfolio manager, you're controlling the entire operation. If we need to ask a question, no one can answer the question. They have to call so-and-so. Oh, you must wake up. You must know. You must know. Otherwise, hey, there's this term, man.
Yeah.
Something. Wealth, something like that.
Yes.
I forgot now.
Yes.
I forgot now. So if you're not going to spend time and investigate, then unfortunately, ubutyebi bakho uzawudliwa zizilumko. Khona abantu abafuna ubutyebi bakho abaphandle apha. You see, so those are the yes, and they are so cunning again. They are good in marketing. You'll see this thing, you will believe it. You ask yourself, if someone is going to pay you 30%, where are they getting that money from? Where are they getting that interest from?
All right.
Because it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
That is it has to come from somewhere.
All right,
if it's good, again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Eh?
Okay, all right. Zanele, I'm going to give you the last few words just to wrap up, and then, and you two guys, just a few messages. But before we do that, I just want to read last few messages here. There's a question, and unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to answer all of these questions. from Mrs. Beauty Slacher Kotela saying, someone please explain this part about funeral insurance. And I think we're going to have to bring you back, guys, here to talk about some of these issues. This issue of insurance that lapses, how can you pay insurance for years, then you hit a rough patch and it can't pay, or life insurance is gone, and so on, down the drain. It possibly is issues around contracting there. And then, and she's also responding to the program I talked about how to pay the bond at a shorter period of time, because Nyangi 20 years is too much. And then Uti, the session day we're having now, it needs part 2, and I agree with that. Uyanga Duma is saying, good conversation, soon we should do a coffee tea as Black financial services professionals. There's power in numbers and collaboration. And I think, guys, really, there's too many issues to talk about in this topic. To take an hour and a half or 2 hours is not enough. Clearly, this has resonated with so many people, and you, as our guest today, have done a great job in really trying to deal with some of the key pertinent issues. But maybe we'll have to come back to this issue again. Zanele, the last few words, and then Zooks, and then Sia. And as I say, make it brief, guys, very, very brief. Okay, Zanele, you're unmuted. If you can just unmute your device there. That's it.
The understanding of financial planning is to be able to tell your money where to go. It must not be the other way around. And it involves everyday management. We cannot be passive in terms of managing our money and think that a miracle is going to happen. You know, there is a pressure that people have now in terms of financial pressure being caused by so many things, people losing jobs and that's why these pyramid schemes are really trying to you know, to as Zeus and Sia have said, that there is no product, there's multi-level marketing that is involved. There is always an issue that you have to pay now. Everything is agent. For you to extract any value, you have to part with something. That being said, this is very important. We have some certain products that people used to have, like women, very active in terms of getting a passive income. Abantu bethengiso Tupperware, abantu bethengiso Forever Living, and all that. Those things are still important. Those still can still be done because this person still has a product that is selling and getting the money from that and doing that. So we still do encourage people to have passive income, but in a legit way. This is not when it comes to this pyramid scheme. So that needs to be emphasized that, you know, people are actually taking advantage because we are gullible. I also want us to discuss the issue of stokvels because we have time in this platform, because we have missed an opportunity as Black people, something that we really used to have that was doing very, very, very well because of trust issues that we have let it, because we understand that we as the people of South Africa, the number when it comes to Black people, we have the numbers in terms of the people. Yes, we do not have finance, but we have the numbers, and there's power in numbers. That gives us an opportunity for us to negotiate. We can negotiate food, we can negotiate almost everything because we've got numbers. I would like us to really explore these things because this individualism has actually made us to be pushed in certain corners where we cannot breathe because we are left all alone. Why are we now accessing funds from the banks? It's because of all these corporates that we have let them to die without really trying to come with our expertise and just making sure where there are gaps, we make them better.
Okay. All right, Zooks, last few points, and then Sia, and then you Siyabulela.
Yeah, so from my side, I'll just say that I advise Abantu to start taking the finances seriously, their financial health, as early as possible. but rather start than you know, at whatever stage. But the reality is that the earlier you start, the more time you are able to sort out things. And then one last thing, just briefly, is to say specifically from people who still have debt. My advice from you is that when you have debt, freeze everything else and focus purely, be single-minded. You have to take on the mindset of a warrior, as though basically from a financial perspective. Suspend or eliminate everything that is not a necessity. Deal with that debt as urgently as possible, because without first doing that, the other stages of your financial journey, it's not easy to then deal to level up effectively. So deal aggressively with debt. Consider it as an enemy that is to be eliminated as soon as possible. Specifically, I'm talking about this careless debt that does not help you in the long run. So I think that's maybe the last point that I'd like to and then from there, when you've at least taken care of debt, start doing personal investigation, consult with expertise like Sian or Zanele, so that you can get the education and be aware of the various financial vehicles that are available on your financial journey. I'll hold it there. Thank you.
If I get, come on.
Okay, just a quick one there, Kacheni. I would like to end by Albert Einstein's quote. He has a beautiful quote that goes as follows. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who doesn't understand it, he who understands it ends it, right?
Yes.
He who doesn't understand it pays it. So if you don't understand compounding interest, you continue to pay for it. And that compounding interest is found on your mortgage. That compounding interest is found on your investments. So you start early so that you can earn it. So the second one, consult a financial advisor before making a financial decision. You have to consult financial advisor before making a financial decision, because you don't want to make a wrong decision.
Yeah.
Lastly, always below your means. That's
Kabila, guys, always live beyond your means. And I think Usia is right. I even went to his office and he gave me great advices, you know, and I know I can vouch that that what he's talking about is true. As I'm concluding now, guys, I want to read what Vito Fanti said. Powerful discussion, Kajeni. In your part 2, I wish they can talk less and answer more questions from the floor. And I think this is what one of you said earlier on as well, that we need to give more chance for people to ask questions. Yes, I think that's right. We need to diversify our portfolios in this trying time. Yes. Zanele, I see you've also answered some questions. Elise Omgongo saying, thank you, Prapet, for this powerful program. It's cool. Pindabuye Unsizi, Ukbucha is seeing the number of suggestions around conducting part 2 in this session. I would propose that part 2 should be a Q&A session. So, and I agree with that. And I think what we're gonna do, we'll talk with my guests here and check their availability, hopefully as soon as possible, and then ask people to send questions, hopefully in advance, maybe on WhatsApp or something. And then we can also allow more question and answers online.
During the session.
Yeah, guys, I want to thank you so much to all of you, our guest speakers. You've shared so much of yourself and your experiences, but more than that, you've empowered so many of us. Now we know what we can do, and you are still available for us to reach out to you for professional advice, for personal advice, and so on. And I would like to encourage all of us to take the advice of professionals seriously. And I really want us to turn the situation around so that Black people can stop being indebted as we are, especially in what you call the consumer debt. I think that's what you said. We need to be more creators of wealth. We couldn't discuss all the issues, but thank you so much to all of you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And we will announce as soon as we agree on a next date with our colleagues so that we can plan it in advance, and we announce it so that people can know and attend it as soon as they hear. Guys, thank you so much. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right. See, you can go back to family now. I'm sure and make up these 2 hours. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your time and appreciate your participation in this process. All the best. Those of you who may not have had time, or whose families may not have had time, you can go back to Facebook, to my Facebook, Patrick Kulati. You will find this there, and you will be able to listen and watch it again. Thank you again. All right. All the best, guys. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.